Hello and welcome to another edition of Lab Rats, the show that demystifies technology for you and your mom and all the other geeks in your family. My name's Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And today on the show, we're not going to do anything too techy. We're just going to answer your questions. Yeah, it's another episode of Mailbag. We love Mailbag. Mailbag is one of our favorite things to do, I think, amongst other types of shows.
It's good because we don't have to get a bunch of food together or whatever.
Exactly. Just answer your questions and get them right or maybe wrong. Anyway, so let's take a break because we shouldn't dally. There's lots to get to. Hear a message from our sponsor, and then when we come back, Mailbag from
Lab Rats.
After this. You know, I really like it when you guys send us emails because it just feels like we're kind of more connected to the audience, don't you think?
I do love it. It lets us know. It gives us ideas for shows, first of all, but it allows us to, take these things and, respond directly during Mailbag. I love it. It's like our old days on Call for Help in the Lab with Leo. So
that's right.
I love it.
We should do it more often. Okay, let's get started. Me first, you first?
You first.
Me first. Okay. Beep. This is from Peter Shanks. Hiya, Sean. Love your site. Miss seeing you guys on TV. He saw us on Leo and needs some help because since those shows went off the air, this is the only place he can come. So you notice when he clicks on Airport on his menu bar that there's Paul's network that shows up besides default, which is what he uses. And others have a lock beside the names. And he has a picture here.
Yes.
Should he be concerned, and how does he get rid of the other wireless networks that are showing up?
Okay. Well, Airport, first of all, he's using a Mac.
Yep.
So good question. So whenever you are looking at your wireless network, so you're trying to connect to a network, you'll see all the access points in your area. In busier places, you'll see more. So what you're seeing there with the Paul's network is essentially someone else nearby you, Peter, has a network set up. So it's worth remembering that network routers carry about 30 to 100 feet, depending on the conditions and what your house is made of, et cetera. So it could carry for a house or two houses.
Yeah, especially if you live in an apartment building, you could see hundreds of these things.
Exactly. So the answer to your question, should you be concerned, is yes and no, and I'll tell you why. No, you shouldn't be concerned about Peter or Paul's network showing up there. That's just someone else nearby.
Yeah.
You can't really get rid of it in there, in that list, because it's there.
It's there, yeah.
Right, so.
Can you get rid of Paul and his house? No.
Yeah, you can go over and knock on his door and ask that, but don't worry about it. It's not of concern at all. What is of concern, though, Peter, is that you do have default as your router name, and you don't have it secured from the looks of it. You don't have the lock beside it. So what you want to do is you want to change that as soon as possible. Now, we've got an episode in the past that you can go refer to find out exactly how to do this, and here's why. First of all, with the name default on there, people know exactly what the router is, probably. I'm guessing a D-Link router. And now that they know that it's a D-Link router, not only can they connect to it because it's unsecured, but they can also start messing with you. So they can connect to all of your computers in the house, but they can also, now that they know it's a D-Link, they know the default username and password for the router, and they can automatically, or they can take some efforts and actually change your password, change your security, lock you out of your own router. They can try flashing the BIOS and ruin it. They can get up to a lot of mischief. So
that Peter, he can be in trouble. The guy next door, he can be hacking in.
Yeah, so if Paul's a hacker, then be concerned about him, not his network, though.
Do you know what my router's called?
What's that?
Bunny slippers.
Oh, yeah, you told me that earlier.
All right.
So anyways, there you go.
Let's move on. Good job. All right.
All right, one for you.
What's next?
This one right here is from Sankalp in India. He said he saw his videos on how stuff works. Very good. It's good to know where you're seeing our stuff as well. It's not necessarily always on Butterscotch. So he has a serious problem with his laptop. He has a Toshiba laptop, and a few weeks back he updated his BIOS from 1.1 to 1.6 using Windows Install. After that, it's getting frozen within a few minutes of login. He took his laptop to the service center, but they're saying the motherboard should be replaced. He doesn't believe it's the only solution. He wants to know if there's any ways to flash his BIOS back to the original older version. He downloaded the older version of the BIOS from Toshiba website, but is unable to install. As it says, working BIOS is latest version, so couldn't install.
Eek.
Is it okay to create a bootable disk of the BIOS and boot from it? If yes, please elaborate. So basically, is he hosed here?
More or less. He's pretty hosed. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. So the BIOS, of course, is the chip inside the computer that kind of gives the system life. Before you even get to the hard drive and any of the systems, BIOS kind of gets it up, awake, and running.
It was a basic input-output system, I believe.
Yeah. Sometimes it's called a CMOS chip. Sometimes you'll see it as a setup. Hit F1 to see setup, whatever it is. It's all the basic information that kind of runs the system before you get to Windows, or in, I guess it's not the same in the Mac, but on the Windows side of things, it's very important. So if you've installed the wrong version of the BIOS, the system can't even get awake to find the hard disk or the floppy disks or the CD-ROM and that sort of thing.
Right.
So there's not much you can do about it. Now, if you can still get it to boot, then perhaps you could get a copy of the BIOS from your vendor, potentially an older version, burn it onto a CD, and actually execute it from there. Yeah. But my guess is the machines these days don't let you do that anymore. This kind of is an old way to do it.
Yeah, so I mean, he said he was using the Windows installer, which is probably all rigged up for that. One way that you might be able to get around this is putting it on a floppy disk. If your notebook is old enough to have a floppy, probably doesn't at this point. Maybe you can boot from USB key and do it outside there.
He might want to do is he might be able to talk to the manufacturer and possibly get a new CMOS chip, right? Yeah. And plug that in if it's changeable. But again, it's a notebook, so you kind of pooched.
Not. Yeah, so back in the day, it's worth noting on motherboards, the CMOS or the BIOS was actually just a little thing with pins that you just stuck in. So one way to get around bad BIOS upgrades was to pull it out, replace it with another one that was the right kind, as long as it was identical. Doesn't always work these days because a lot of times these days those are soldered straight onto the board.
Hardwired into it, yeah.
So that may not be an option,
right?
And especially with notebooks.
Got it. So sorry, bad news there. Okay.
You got a question for me?
I got a question for you. This is from our friend Alex.
Hi, Alex.
He's got a quick question. My computer has one VGA out. Will a multiple monitor setup work if I went out and bought a VGA splitter, or do multiple monitor setups not work with splitters? Thanks, and sent from his iPod.
All right, so probably not. So that's the quick answer to this. So if you've got a VGA and you're using a splitter, basically you're doubling the signal that's coming out of that one thing. So what your notebook does or your computer does when you hook it into an external monitor through the VGA is it's reaching out and saying, what do you got to that one? Through a splitter, it's only got the one controller reaching out. So if you try plugging two different monitors into that, it may get confused, but it'll still send one signal and split it out. That's the issue there. With DVI, it's a bit of a different story because you can get plug-in adapters. I know Matrox makes one that will actually extend your desktop out into multiple monitors through one connection.
Now, you should mention DVI, of course, is a digital output for monitors that come with a lot of the newer computers, not necessarily laptops.
Yeah, more professional computers, it looks like they're the ones that go with DVI mostly. So the MacBook Pro has it, some higher-end Windows-based laptops. But still, typically, you're going to see mostly VGA on the notebooks. Now, on the computer itself, if we're looking at a desktop, there's more DVI on those. But the easier solution here for a desktop machine is just get a new video card. You can get a reasonably good video card with two outputs on it for $50. That's going to be okay with gaming. So if that's the problem there. But if you're stuck with one, like because you have a notebook and you have DVI, look at that Matrox product. That'll actually split it up into multiple monitors.
Some notebooks too have an HDMI output too. So if it's a newer notebook, you might want to look for an HDMI and connect it up using that way.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: is if you've got a notebook computer, you can actually use your external jack as one and use the monitor on the screen too. So that's another way to do multiple monitors.
Got it. Cool. Okay. All right. Next.
So one for you. So hello, folks from Lab Rats. Just watched your video on VoIP. Interested in doing Skype or something like that to an orphanage on the outskirts of Kampala, Uganda. Cool. They have internet service, but doesn't know how well it works. This is from Liz, by the way. Okay. Doesn't know whether it's cable or what. She was just wondering what would be your advice about trying to get this started. The computer is old. However, they could probably get a new one than the one they have. She knows Skype is free. However, she doesn't have a camera on her computer now, nor do they.
Right.
Any suggestions?
All right. So Skype, of course, is this piece of software that allows you to talk over the internet using your voice or with a camera as well. So video plus voice or just voice alone. You have two choices there. Now, if you have a good connection between the two computers, and you have cameras on both ends, then you can actually do video conferencing. But I would say that experience is not particularly good unless you have really good connectivity. Now, I don't know what's going on in Kampala, but I would suspect they probably don't have 5 megabit connectivity. Maybe they do, and I'm wrong. But I would imagine that if you have anything less than 2 megabits per second, that's not going to be a viable option. If they have dial-up, you might get voice to work, right?
Yes.
So you might get voice connection. It might be a little tinny. It might not work perfectly because Skype's sort of been optimized for that. That said, I may be wrong, and you may want to try video conferencing. Again, if the bandwidth is slow, though, or it's satellite. They may have satellite, in fact, out there. But then again, your satellite two-way is going to be 256 kilobits per second, which is not going to be fast enough for video either.
Yeah, so yes, it's asynchronous, I think, in a lot of cases, too. So they might be able to receive a lot of information, but sending it back upstream could be a problem.
Maybe difficult, exactly. Right. Okay, so bottom line here is certainly send them a new computer. Find out what the bandwidth speed is, and make sure they have a copy of Skype on that machine you send them. Maybe voice is possible. And we hope so. Fingers crossed. Sounds like a good project.
Yeah, if you do find that you do have like a good broadband connection there at that end, then by all means you can add a camera to the equation as well. So there's Microsoft has something called the Live Cam, which actually does HD video, and that's under $100.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can always add the camera if you need to, but if they have dial-up, don't bother.
Okay. Cool. All right. One more. This is from Tarek. Not Tariq, he says, Tarek.
There you go, Tarek.
And he wants a full review of the iPad.
Done.
Done. Okay. And he also bought one of those Sony Bloggy cameras that I mentioned that I actually covered at CES this year. He's impressed with the prices and the features. And he said, while it says it has an HDMI connector, it has a smaller than normal HDMI connector, and I can't find a cable for it. I know that you've just done a TV connector show, but could you shed some light on HDMI incompatibility issues like this? He recently moved from Australia to Texas and invites us to the South by Southwest Festival.
Done.
All right.
All right. So that is definitely a good point. One thing we neglected to mention on the show that we just did on connectors is that HDMI comes in two flavors: regular HDMI, which is what you'll see on the back of your TV, and mini HDMI, which is what you'll see on the side of a video camera.
Right.
So now you don't want to get a full-size HDMI connector in the side of your video camera because it takes up too much real estate inside there. So what they've done is they've just created a mini version, much the same way that if you have an external hard drive, like a portable hard drive, it has a mini version of USB on the back. So different connectors, same concept. Now what you need to make this work is you need on one end the regular HDMI connector, and on the other end, mini HDMI. And you can get these cables anywhere that they sell, well, almost anywhere, obviously, because Tarek's been having a bit of trouble finding it, but you can get it online at a place like Best Buy, I'm sure, Future Shop in Canada. Just look online. I managed to find one.
Places
like
that.
So take a look. All you need to know, one end regular HDMI, the other end mini HDMI.
Very good. Okay. Last one? Second to last one.
Last one. Do we have another one on that? All right. Keep that one for later. All right. So this is from A. Dungy.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a real name or not, but anyways, so wants to know, watched our video on DMZ, and is having a problem with a game that them and their family have all been trying to play with each other online.
Yeah.
It's Monopoly on CD-ROM, came out in '97.
Yeah.
Game itself runs fine, but when linking all of the computers over the internet to play, 3 of the family members that have a router can't get it to play. Do you have any suggestions?
Got it.
So I'm
Okay.
guessing the other 3 can play it just fine with
So we
each
get
other.
different people in different houses, right? All using this game to connect to each other. 2 people have a router, meaning a device that shares the internet in the house. Other people connecting directly to probably their modem out to everybody else. So, and those 2 people are having trouble connecting. So what's going on here, my guess, is that you've got a security situation. So the security is overprotecting you here, or reasonably protecting you. So you're trying to punch out through a router out to everybody else to make the connection, and they're failing. So a couple things you can do. One, I would first look at the desktop software, not the router, the desktop software on the people that are having problems, and making sure you turn off any firewall or software. Norton Antivirus typically has problems with this, so if you've got a fully loaded suite, it could be stopping it. That's chronic. The other thing is to go into your router and look for a setting called UPnP. And UPnP basically lets you punch out from your computer connected to the router out to the internet easily. So the computer and the router talk easily and say, hey, I got a request going outbound. Okay, let's open it up and lets it go through.
Yeah.
Now, that's not for newbies, it's not an easy thing to figure out, but you got to get onto the router, find the manual, get onto the router, go into the settings, turn UPnP on, and you shouldn't have a problem. That's one option anyway.
It has some risks, though. UPnP being universal plug and play.
Correct.
Which means that not only can this program that you want to work say to the router, hey, I want access and allow incoming things, any program that's on your computer can also do the same thing.
Well, specifically malware is what we're
including malware. So the malware can say to the router, hey, I want access to the router, let all the stuff come in, and then all the bad guys just rush right in. So you want to deploy UPnP sparingly, if you can avoid it.
Right.
So look for the other solutions first with Norton, McAfee, whatever.
Yeah, turn Norton, McAfee, turn them off, try it that way if that doesn't work. If you have like a specialty firewall, a Komodo, one of those guys, turn those off. Try it then. If that doesn't work, UPnP is your next option.
Yeah, and also the last thing you can try is do a bit of search online, see if the Monopoly game has a very specific port that it uses, and you can open up that specific port on your router as well.
Right.
And you use we did a video on how to make Skype better back in the day. Use that as a step-by-step on how to do it, but just change the port to that particular one, and that should solve the problem if you can figure out which port it's using.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, last one. We have last one, right?
Yeah, very quick one.
Colleen Brola. She says, just FYI, as per Leo Laporte, our old friend, for the year, when we talk about the year, 2010, don't say 2010.
Why?
It's 20 now, so 2010, 2011, 2012. Okay? She says it's easier because there's less syllables as well. She's in Long Beach, California, near my brother, by the way.
There you go.
2010, not 2010.
I don't know. I could go either way. Maybe it's just a Canadianism. But it's strange because when you were in the 1900s, you had no problem saying stuff like 1901, but 2001 just sounds weird.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've just kept that going for the last 10 years, and it's hard to stop now.
I agree.
2008, 2009, 2010. I'm going to keep saying it, Colleen. Sorry.
All right. There you go, Colleen. That's, I guess, must be a Canadianism after all. All right. Let's take a break and hear a second message from our sponsors. They're fabulous, of course. And when we come back, click for the week, plus your pictures, too.
Yes.
Right, after this. Well, that's it for feedback.
No,
it's not.
I have one more that just arrived. Dear Lab Rats, love the show. Andy Smells, love Sean.
You're fired. Yes. All right. Let's see. I'm lost for words. Moving on. We have a clip of the week for you. One of our folks asked about the Sony Bloggy camera, and I actually did that at the Consumer Electronics show this year in Las Vegas. So we're going to have a look at the clip that I did there. And when we come back, we got a couple of pictures for you, plus information about how you can send in your message to us for the future Mailbag episodes. That's after this.
Welcome on deck. I'm Matt Harris.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman.
Welcome to the A-List.
Hi, welcome to Miss Download.
Well, the Bloggy is, just like you said, perfect for people who want to upload content to the web. It shoots high-definition video at 1920 by 1080 at 30p.
Wow, so it's actually really real HD as opposed to pretend
it is.
HP.
If you want 720, you get that as well at
Sure.
either 30p or 60p, so great for fast action.
Wow, great.
And it'll do VGA, too, if you need that.
Very good.
Also
Okay.
captures 5-megapixel stills, native 5-megapixel, so you can get great quality prints out of it as
Right.
well.
I love the Sony Bloggy camera, don't you think? Didn't I do a nice job on that?
It was amazing.
I told you. I should do it. I should make this a career, I think. All right, let's move on to picture time. Your pictures come to us via an email address, which we'll give you in a minute. But first, let's look at the pictures that you recently sent to us.
In fact, they go into the same mailbox.
They do.
The pictures aren't in there.
Good.
I got them over here.
All right.
All
have
right,
a look.
so our good friend Bob Goman hasn't sent us pictures for a while, but he has sent us pictures of his cats. So
Good.
this is Spice, and
It's bad angle on
having a bit of
Spice.
a nap. But my cat does that too, the old arm over the face. I think it's a cat. All cats do this. Anyways, so, and another photograph of the cat at the kitchen table, which I think
that's
my
cute.
cat does as well.
That's very cute.
Always looking for chicken. It looks like there's like a toque here, or a knit cap for all of you people on the other side of the border. So, thank you so much, Bob, for sending those along.
Bogo, you rock. All right. All right, if you want to send your pictures into us, or either pictures or questions for a future mailbag episode, email us at
Dear Lab Rats, Andy Smells at labrats.tv.
Yeah, yeah, that'll get there, promise you. Or more simply,
Feedback at labrats.tv.
all right. Absolutely excellent episode. Somehow I've run out of words, can't get them out of my mouth anymore. Perhaps that's a good thing, I don't know. If you want to see more Lab Rats episodes, you can go to butterscotch.com. Check out, we have more than 200 by now, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to entertain you all the time. Show notes on this episode at butterscotch.com. And of course, zillions of shows to indulge you with your tech fetish.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's it. Thank you so much this week for coming along and pushing play, because we'd be foolish to be here reading your email if you weren't out there sending it. My name's Andy Walker,
I'm John Carruthers.
and we'll see you next time.
Are you ready? Try this at home.
Andy out having to manage you guys for a day. Ugh.